After 8 years, my boyfriend still sleeps on the couch and claims it's more comfortable. With flirty texts from a coworker and a secret TikTok, I feel like a ghost in my own life. Now I'm torn between love and a new connection. Is this relationship even salvageable? TLDR, my boyfriend and I are not intimate and have not been for years. We have numerous problems. Is this situation repairable? I have been with my current boyfriend for 8 years. A somewhat relevant detail is that we met at work, and I initially did not want to date a coworker, but one thing led to another, and here we are 8 years later. Honestly, the first 2 years of our relationship were wonderful, but after that, he ceased sleeping with me and began opting to sleep downstairs on the couch some nights, eventually doing so every single night. I would ask him about it, and he would respond with comments like, "It's more comfortable," or, "The pets always wake me up when I sleep in bed." I did not particularly enjoy this situation because I have always liked sleeping next to my partners, and cuddling in bed has always seemed like an essential part of intimacy for me. Around the same time, we nearly stopped having sexual relations altogether, with it becoming more of a once or twice a year event. I questioned him about this as well, and he offered excuses such as, "My medication makes me lose my sex drive," and, "I am insecure about my body." Honestly, I did not mind it excessively and loved him enough to believe I could live without it, although it did raise some suspicions for me. Returning to the topic of working together, we had a colleague who consistently flirted with him, which made me extremely uncomfortable. I told him it genuinely bothered me and mentioned it frequently. The situation culminated at a work event where the two of them spent the entire event together, which devastated me and made me feel disrespected. I expressed this to him. Eventually, I borrowed his work computer for something and discovered their chat, finding some messages that were much flirtier than I was comfortable with, such as, "I miss you," and coordinating singing lessons that I was unaware of and would not have approved. To this day, I have no proof that he actually cheated, but the entire situation felt like a betrayal, and we almost broke up over it. He profusely apologized and vowed to make amends. At that time, I did not want to stay, but since we worked together, that complicated things, and I realized that moving into a place by myself would be financially challenging. Things did improve slightly, though not in our sex life, and we remained together. Fast forward, I found myself checking his phone relatively regularly, about once or twice a year. I know it is wrong, but I admit that I did it. I began noticing strange and somewhat uncomfortable searches and found out he was using OnlyFans and looking at some of our coworkers. All of those excuses about his sex drive began to resonate more personally with me, knowing that the interest existed just not in me. I never informed him of my discoveries or confronted him because, although I did not like it, it did not specifically cross a line for me, spending time or being intimate with a real person. However, it did hurt my ego, and honestly, spending money on OnlyFans girls felt almost like cheating. Another unusual detail in this chapter of our saga is that I found a fake Instagram account of his, where he messaged an OnlyFans girl, claiming to be a female photographer and wanting to take her photos. That was unsettling. About 5 years into our relationship, he received an opportunity to move across the country, and I made the decision to join him, even though I had built a life in the place where we had lived together. I decided to move not just for him but also because I desired another experience. Unfortunately, I quickly fell into depression in the new city, and my mental health deteriorated. He continued to sleep on the couch in the new place and was far too busy to offer much support while I was experiencing one of the most challenging depressive episodes of my life. Some quick examples: he stayed on the other side of town for a week for an event, which I know sounds suspicious, but it was legitimate, and one night, I was having a depressive episode and called him to see if he could come home to be with me. He said he could not and that he could not be my babysitter. Another example involved me asking him for help to get out of the house, as my depression made it extremely difficult to go outside, but staying indoors all the time worsened my condition. He promised assistance, but he never followed through and repeated the babysitting line. That was one of the loneliest years of my life. Additionally, his new job was so demanding that he began taking ADHD medication to help him focus, which turned him into something akin to a robot. He works mostly from home, so I know he was not out and about, but even though he was physically present, he was emotionally absent and showed no interest in engaging in activities with me, like attending events or going for walks. The only thing he wanted to do with me was sit on the couch and watch television, or occasionally go out to restaurants together. Meanwhile, he had tightened the security on his phone, and I was no longer able to access it, so I stopped trying. While living in that place, one day, he went to the grocery store, and when he left his computer on, I took the opportunity to look through some things. I found that he had been searching for explicit images of one of our former coworkers. I believe she became an OnlyFans girl or something. These were pictures from her personal website. I also uncovered that he had created a fake TikTok account to watch inappropriate videos and occasionally message girls, saying things like, "You are so attractive." At that time, we had entirely stopped having sex. We argued about the TikTok account and the photographs of the former coworker, nearly breaking up again, and then he sobbed and apologized, and we reconciled. Once again, I reluctantly forgave him, as it did not constitute literal infidelity with a real person, and I could not afford to live alone. I also have no desire to have roommates. We relocated, and things improved slightly, primarily because there were more activities to keep me busy. His job continued to keep him incredibly occupied, and he did not share my level of interest in engaging in different activities. The ADHD medication further impacted this area of our relationship. Once again, we had no physical relationship, he slept separately, and I was not particularly pleased with how things were going. I somewhat wanted to leave but felt comfortable enough. I began to adjust to living life as an independent, or perhaps just a very lonely, person. Finally, in the 7th year of our relationship, he went on a month-long trip with his friends. I was invited but chose not to attend. While he was away, I fortuitously met someone with whom I had a great deal in common, and I quickly developed strong feelings. Initially, I attempted to prevent things from progressing, but then I reflected on all the times I felt betrayed in my relationship and ultimately thought, forget it. I know this is awful, and I do feel guilty. However, this new person made me feel loved and valued in a way I had not experienced in years. Nevertheless, I was bound by a 1-year lease with my current partner, and I felt trapped. I had nowhere else to go, could not move in with the new guy, and could not afford 2 rents. Thus, I continued seeing the other man secretly for about 6 months, into our 1-year lease, until I finally mustered the courage to tell my partner that I needed to break up and that someone else was involved. I also mentioned that I understood we would need to continue living together for 6 more months and that I would try to be away from home as much as possible. Well, he did not take the news well. I did not expect him to, and stopped speaking to me for about a week. However, he later resumed communication and began pleading for us to reconcile. This led to daily discussions, fights, and accusations like, "Where are you going? To see him?" He exclaimed, "I would never do this to you," basically labeling me as the most cruel person to exist. Concurrently, he expressed sentiments such as, "I realize what I have done, I did not appreciate you, I took you for granted, it was all due to my alcoholism," and so on. He vowed to improve and to stop drinking. He attributed every single issue, the separation at night, lack of intimacy, and his reluctance to engage in activities beyond watching television, to his drinking and alcoholism. I consistently said no for an entire month. However, I ultimately realized I could not endure it any longer, as it was causing me immense stress to live with someone who continually broke me down every day. I was constantly crying and overwhelmed. I relented, agreeing to end things with the new guy and give my current relationship one more chance. Well, here I am, attempting to give it another chance, and things have improved slightly. He has indeed stopped drinking alcohol, I have checked, and he has somewhat attempted to start sleeping in the same bed with me again, although he often only stays there for 1 to 2 hours. We have not resumed sexual relations. In fact, I am not at all ready for this yet anyway, but I have not communicated this to him, and he has not made any advances. One issue that arose as we were discussing the end of things was that he was neglecting household chores, and he promised to contribute more. He has started to do a little more than before, but I am still handling the majority of the responsibilities. For instance, he told me he would take full responsibility for doing laundry, a point of contention for us in the past, yet he has not completed a single load of laundry since making that promise. It has been 1.5 months. There are far more details I would like to share, but my primary question is what you would do if you were in my position. Would you consider giving him a chance, given that some improvements have occurred, or would you decide to move on? I am genuinely struggling with the decision because, yes, I still love him, and yes, there is a significant history between us. Perhaps we could indeed have a pleasant future together? Another difficult aspect is that I still work at the place where we met, and everyone at work knows him and loves him. We share numerous mutual friends from work. I am aware that if I end the relationship, everyone at work will view me differently. Simultaneously, I cannot stop thinking about the other guy. Additionally, I cannot afford to live alone in the city we currently inhabit, so I will need to relocate to a different area, likely the one we lived in before our recent move, and the prospect of moving across the country stresses me out. I also feel a little anxious about being alone, and this fear has intensified now that I am in my 30s. Therefore, I require some honest advice. What would you do? Story 2. My boyfriend's mother calls him names and monitors his every move, yet he refuses to set boundaries. I can't just give up on her. Now I'm torn between my love for him and the chaos she brings into our lives. Is this relationship worth the pain? Hi Reddit. I need some advice, so I am hoping to receive some assistance here. I, 30 female, started dating my boyfriend, 29 male, 3 months ago. Everything has been wonderful, we enjoy spending time together, we make each other laugh, and we have similar viewpoints on important topics such as politics, religion, and life plans. He is a very caring person, and I truly value the relationship we are building. However, there is one potentially major issue that we have not yet had a proper conversation about. His mother is an overbearing, abusive, and terrible person. Here are some examples of her behavior. She texts or calls him around the clock and always ends up instigating an argument over something trivial, like his purchase of a pair of jeans that she deems too expensive, even though it is his money, and he is an adult capable of making his own decisions. If they are on a call, she verbally degrades him, cursing him out and calling him names, and then hangs up on him when he attempts to defend himself. In such situations, she bombards him with text messages, labeling him a terrible son and saying outrageous, dramatic things to make him feel bad. While growing up, she would require him to weigh himself before having a snack and continues this behavior into his adult life by constantly commenting on his appearance and weight, claiming that he is too fat and that she does not want him to die of obesity. For context, my boyfriend is not overweight and now suffers from low self-esteem due to this continuous criticism. Additionally, she herself would be classified as overweight or even obese, not that there is anything wrong with that, but it is a pot calling the kettle black situation. She has always inserted herself into his relationships, and according to his own admission, she has never liked anyone he has dated, ever. His mother openly expresses her dislike for her children's significant others directly to them. My boyfriend's high school girlfriend used to match her energy, but one day, his mother went to his girlfriend's house to demand that she break up with him. His brother's girlfriend is so uncomfortable around her that she no longer agrees to visit when her boyfriend goes home. They have been dating for years, likely heading toward engagement soon, and do not know how to address the wedding situation. My boyfriend believes they might have to elope or something similar because of the animosity between his mother and his brother's girlfriend. She is extremely racist. My boyfriend's brother accidentally collided with another vehicle that belonged to a Hispanic man. She called the insurance company, assumed the representative was also Hispanic, and proceeded to use racist slurs, suggesting that he is trying to protect his own. She constantly vents to my boyfriend about her marital troubles. She and her husband do not get along, but since he is the breadwinner and because it would be too much work, she refuses to divorce him. Instead of seeking therapy, she unloads all her problems onto my boyfriend, making them his burden. She tracks my boyfriend through his phone and sends him messages when he is at my apartment, telling him he should not be there. There is more, but that serves as a good start to this discussion. For further context, my boyfriend does not have many friends in his life, so his family constitutes his primary social network. He understands that what his mother is doing is unhealthy for him, but he is not ready to give up on her yet. My boyfriend does not establish boundaries with his mother. She has unrestricted access to him 24/7 through his phone, and he engages in her mind games every time she instigates a fight. I have tried to explain to him that he needs to withdraw his energy from her when she is acting out and impose consequences when she disrespects him, like reducing contact, etc. I am hesitant to advise him to go no contact with her, even though I believe he should, because I know how he feels about not wanting to abandon her. Some of these issues are partially my boyfriend's responsibility too, for instance, the phone tracking, as he could revoke her access to that. He has room for personal growth, but I am trying to be patient and supportive with him because he has only known this type of horrible treatment throughout his life. When we initially started dating, my boyfriend warned me that there was a very good chance his mother would dislike me. Because of this, he did not want to introduce me to her anytime soon. At this point, I never want to meet her. I feel sad about this because I always envisioned having a positive relationship with my boyfriend's family, but that is not feasible in this scenario. I feel envious of my boyfriend because I come from a very loving and supportive family that will welcome him with open arms, while I am faced with this nightmare scenario regarding his family. We had a difficult conversation about this over the weekend after I witnessed one of their arguments over the phone. I was furious about the things she said to him and was also upset that he felt compelled to respond and defend himself against her hateful remarks instead of disengaging. My boyfriend insists that being in a relationship with him does not equate to being in a relationship with his family and that I should not allow his mother's negativity to affect our relationship. I continue to encourage him to set boundaries with her, so we will see how that develops in the coming weeks. I just do not know if I am setting myself up for failure by remaining in this relationship. I genuinely like my boyfriend, and I have not dated anyone like him in the past, but I am wondering if the drama associated with his mother is too much to manage. Any advice would be appreciated. Thank you. Summary: my boyfriend's mother's behavior is negatively affecting our relationship. The way she treats him is unacceptable, but he struggles to set boundaries with her. Should I stay in the relationship or break up with him due to his mother's actions?